What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome back to Football Manager Simulates. And today it is part 3 of the worst manager possible, formerly managing Man City. And I say formerly managing because bizarrely, and I didn't realise this was even possible, Cheeseman Slim has announced he's resigned from the role. He's resigned from the role on the 1st of June. He's moving at the end of the month. His contract that he has at the new club is going to expire after 1 day, so he will just straight away leave. And, well, I'm hoping he's going to find a job, although with his attributes as they are, even with all the leagues loaded right down to the Vanarama North and South, I'm not sure if he's even going to get a job. We'll have to wait and see. But here he is. He's got his move planned ahead of him. And, well, he has had one last year at Man City. And, well, we'll have a look at that year now. Because, as you can see here, after a few years of finishing 5th, or 6th rather, they've now finished 5th. So it's technically an improvement, I guess. You can see here they've got Europa League football. If we look at how he did in his final season, you can see they lost the UEFA Super Cup in the EFL Cup. How far did they go? They got all the way to the semi-final, and unfortunately they lost to Tottenham over 2 legs. In the FA Cup, they lost in the quarter-finals to Southampton. In the Champions League, they were thrashed by Benfica away from home, and in the second leg, a 3-1 win meant they went out on aggregate. So yeah, it was not a good final year for Mr. Slynn. We can have a look at the transfers that he made here in his final year. Of course, get into the age of the regen now. So he brought in this guy, Fulgencio, we'll go with, Brazilian centre-back, not Belgium, Jack, Brazilian. He bought this guy from Red Bull Salzburg, an Austrian, interesting nationality. He looks pretty good, Mr. Bull. That's definitely not how you say his name. They also brought in Warren Wool. That just sounds like a fake name, doesn't it? He looks okay. But yeah, they spent some pretty big money, including on Luke Starkey here, who, to be fair, looks absolutely insane, but has broken a leg, which is a little bit of a problem. But yeah, £55 million they paid for him. You can see their spending over the last few years here. They kind of slowed down their spending just a little bit. If we look at our landmarks here, you can see Sheikh Mansour actually scaled down the funding a few years ago now, which is probably why they spent a little bit less. It's going to be interesting now to see, with Cheeseman Slynn leaving, how will Man City bounce back from his management? Because, I mean, it's not quite the drastic effect I thought he was going to have, but, well, since he's taken over, you can see they finished 2nd, 3rd, had a few years of finishing 5th, a few years of 4th, and then a few years of 6th. I thought he would maybe make the team decline slightly more, but I guess just the amount of money they had helped them out massively. You can see, looking at the squad, Phil Foden still in the team, still doing his thing. Wasn't ever given a massive amount of football until the last few years and hasn't really played well all that much. But he's done okay over the years, I guess. Obviously, we are now entering the age of the regen, so lots of the fake players coming through. But yeah, we're going to keep a close eye on things. You can see their media prediction was 4th. No idea who they're going to hire to be Cheeseman's successor, which is going to be, I think, part of the fun here. And yeah, we're going to go forward. We'll see how long it takes for Man City to bounce back if Cheeseman gets another job. I'm not sure he will, but we'll wait and find out. I know some people will say, you know, just move him to a team or just improve his ability so a team takes him on or increase his reputation. I kind of feel like that would defeat the whole point in things, but we'll go for a year. We'll see if he's still alive and kicking and looking for a job. And, well, it'll be interesting to see who the successor is going to be here at Manchester City. So, I can assure you I have gone forward a year here, but the View job advert is visible, which means whoever came in as Cheeseman's successor has not had success. And it was actually Jurgen Klopp. Wow, he was sacked. What's his history been like in this save game? Let's have a look here. So he spent, oh my word, he spent the whole time at Liverpool, and then he was sacked as manager of Liverpool at the end of 2029. He was employed as manager, and they didn't have a very good year, you can see. Did they make any big signings? Let's take a look. How did he spend money? I mean, you can see, compared to other years, he's not spent a lot. In fact, Klopp spent less money than I think Cheeseman did in any season, including after the finances were scaled down. You can see they made some pretty big sales. Bull was sold to Juventus. Max Aaron's one of the few real players left at the team, moved on to Arsenal for £51 million. They did sign some replacements. The big signing was this guy, Mehdi Subervi, I guess. That's definitely not how you say it. It doesn't even sound French, Jack, when you say it. But yeah, they spent money big, but they struggled. So in the EFL Cup, how did they get on? They lost to Manchester United in the 4th round. In the Europa League, they got knocked out to, you can see, actually Arsenal. Wow, they got hammered by Arsenal. They really seem to struggle away from home, this Manchester City team. And in the FA Cup, they lost to Manchester United as well. So yeah, not a particularly good season for Klopp. Not surprising he's been sacked. They did finish 5th, which was on par with where they finished with Cheeseman. And well, speaking of the devil, has he got a job anywhere? Has he got a job anywhere? He hasn't. I will say I unfroze his attributes after he left just to see if that might help him get a job, because we had them frozen all at 1, which is below 1 current ability. I wanted to give him a small chance of getting a job, although he is still technically the worst manager in the world that you could possibly be with 1 potential. But yeah, it's not looking good for him. Has he got any short-term plans? He wants to be a manager. I mean, bless him, he wants to be a manager. I fear that he might retire soon. So I do want to quickly show you guys. I don't want to show his overviews, although you can see his overviews here. This is how things finished for Mr. Cheeseman. Longest time at club, 3,644 days, 7 awards, played and won a lot of games, to be fair, at Man City. Biggest fee was, in the end, Rodrigo. That spend is absolutely mad. Yeah, net spend of almost £1 billion in 10 years is just absolutely crazy. And well, we can look at his milestones here in his biography. You can see here he won the Community Shield 3 times, the Carabao Cup 4 times, the FA Cup twice, and the Europa League twice. For some reason, it's shown him as having an extra day there. Apparently, he joined and left on the same day. That's very weird. I don't know what would cause that. Answers on a postcard if you know. But yeah, it's not looking too great for him getting a job. Maybe things will be brighter for Man City. We're going to go forward a few years. We'll see if they can return to the big time. And, well, don't go anywhere. We'll go for 2 years this time, I think. We'll go to 2032 and see how things are looking. Okay, folks, so we've gone forward 2 years to 2032. I think we'll go for 2 more years after this. We'll be able to see kind of 5 years after Cheeseman Slin how things are looking. But I'll say now, Manchester City, things aren't looking that rosy, but they have just qualified for the Champions League. Marcelo Gallardo is their manager. Let's have a look at their manager. So he joined a year ago now? Wow, okay, I didn't even realise this. Pep Guardiola was given the job. That they brought him back. They gave the bold fraud another go. I shouldn't call him a bold fraud. He's not really. I don't believe that. You guys are entitled to your own beliefs, of course. But he was sacked after less than a year. How bad was their second season? Let's have a look at this. So how bad was Pep's season? In the Europa League, what happened to them? What happened to them? They got to the semi-final and won. And they won the Europa League final. But they still sacked him. In the FA Cup, he lost in the 5th round. In the EFL Cup, he got hammered by Chelsea 7-0 on aggregate. And then finished 5th, and they just sacked him. Didn't matter that he won the Europa League. They did not care. Then this most recent year, they lost in the UEFA Super Cup. In the EFL Cup, did they go on a good little run in it? They lost in the quarterfinals to Arsenal. In the FA Cup, they made it far. They lost in the final 3-2. And in the Champions League, to be fair, made it to the quarterfinals, but absolute scenes, they lost to Manchester United. But that's, well, it's looking slightly better. There's a road to recovery. Rodrigo, top goal scorer in the league, I think I spotted there. He is still here. He's the vice-captain of the club. Look how insane he has been over the years. He's one of Cheeseman's few good signings. And while speaking of the devil, is he still around? Cheeseman Slin. I don't think he's retired. Oh, it's sad. He's retired. I mean, rest in peace, Cheeseman. He retired aged 47, which means he retired at the end of last year. I guess after 2 years without being able to find a job, he just decided to call it a day. But there's his career. It was a short one, but he lived his life well. And, well, his legacy lives on in the fact that Manchester City are only now breaking back into the top 4. But Gallardo has had a year in charge. It looks like it's been a much better year for them. The fact, I guess, they got the defeat against United is kind of going to hurt, but somewhat of a road to recovery. Their key player, by the way, is Ricardo Ramirez. This guy here, absolutely nuts Mexican forward. He looks crazily good. Be interesting to see how he can get on with things, of course. Gallardo here, an absolutely insane manager. We can't do a comparison with Cheeseman Slin, but there's significantly fewer ones here than there was for the Cheesemeister. Anyway, let's go forward 2 more years. Will Man City have recovered? Will they have stabilised in to that kind of established, I guess, what would you call it? Established Champions League team? Title contender? We'll have to wait and see. We can look at their landmarks here. They've continued to upgrade things. Although their funding's been scaled down, I noticed they've still got a lot of money in the bank. Let's see if they invest it well, if they invest it smartly. And yeah, we'll go forward to 2034, 5 years on from Cheeseman Slin's reign, 15 years into the future, and take one final look. Well, well, well. I think this story might have a happy ending, Manchester City fans, because they won the league and they've won a game at a neutral venue against Barcelona. Is that going to be Europa League or Champions League? We will take a look in a second. But yes, Gallardo is still manager. He's had 3 years in charge. Apparently Cesar Sierra is now their key player, and he looks pretty blooming good to Cesar here. Yeah, he actually looks absolutely insane, the English winger. Maybe the prodigy, the replacement that Manchester City were craving for Sterling. But yes, they won the league. Let's take a look at it. 87 points they won the league with. Ramirez and Luiz, the top 2 goal scorers. Let's take a look at them. So Luiz here, Brazilian forward, and Ramirez doing very, very well. They were playing, you can see this formation here, a 4-2-3-1. Are there any real players left in this team at this point? Phil Foden and Rodrigo are the last 2 survivors. So, I mean, poor Foden's been here from start to finish. He's seen it all. He's seen a time. But yes, they won the league, and well, let's see what they did in the cup competition. So, in the EFL Cup, how far did they make it? They made it through the semi-final. They won in the final after extra time. They were in the Champions League as well. How did they do in that? Well, they made it all the way to the final and won it. And in the FA Cup, unfortunately, they lost in the semi-final. But they still managed to do a treble, which is pretty impressive. So, the Simulates ends, quite fittingly actually, after 15 years, with Manchester City winning a Champions League. So, to answer the question, would the worst manager ever, like how would he do at Manchester City? It turns out that with all the money that they have, he'd still do okay. He'd, stabilise them to a Europa League quality team. But with some good management by Mr. Gallardo here, he's managed to take them on to new dizzying heights in just 5 years, which maybe gives a contrast to things. Although, I will say, the fact that both Pep and Klopp lasted such a short period of time makes me feel like Cheeseman actually did quite a lot, bless him, in his time in charge. He did his thing, and he did it well. But yeah, that's that, I guess. The end of an era here at Man City, an era that many will want to forget, the 10 years of Cheeseman's reign. But yeah, this was a fun little one. I might try and do something similar to this with a worse team, just to see what would happen. Maybe like one of the favourite teams to get relegated that has slightly less money. He wasted a lot of money, did Sam Cheeseman Slin, over the years. But Manchester City, being Manchester City, just kind of, it's difficult to do badly with them because you're always going to have enough money to buy one world-class player every year, as it turns out. So even if you're not getting the most out of your team, you're still doing pretty blooming well with them. But anyway, that's all from me today. Guys, I do hope you enjoyed this one. This was a little bit different. I know for some people they'll love it. For other people, they'll feel a bit like, meh, this was an okay simulate. But I feel like variety is the spice of life. I really want to push the boat out and try lots of different things with this. Coming your way in the very near future is going to be the Liverpool swap. I will say no more. And you guys can keep an eye on the channel for that coming very, very soon. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.